Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to be talking about what is near and dear to my heart, marketing. That is what I do by trade. It is what I have done for a number of years. And, to me, it is the most important thing that a company needs to be doing. Right. And unfortunately, it's one of the things that companies either totally skip or do wrong. So please join me in welcoming Joshua Ramsey to our program today. Welcome, Joshua. How are you?
Hey, Dad, I'm doing great. How are you? Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, let me tell folks a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this. All right. So Joshua Ramsey is a seasoned marketing professional with over 2 decades of experience in media advertising and agency leadership. Starting as a junior project manager, he swiftly climbed the ranks to become vice president of marketing and sales before founding Strategic Point Marketing, catering to small local businesses. In 2018, he launched JRcmo, a fractional CMO consultancy focusing on optimizing marketing strategies for companies. His notable clients include Sentricon, PanoramAH, North America SRSI, Warehouse Automation, and A-Lert Roofing and Metal Buildings, where his expertise has been instrumental in driving success. So again, Joshua, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I love these types of conversations.
I love it. So cool. Well, and I also need to mention you have a brand new ebook out that is how some SEO companies disguise laziness. There it is, and hide poor strategies. So we are going to talk a lot about SEO because I think it is one of the absolute most misunderstood things and most ignored. So we're going to talk a lot about that. But tell us a little bit more about how it is that you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me. I mean, it's always great to share information, and my goal, I think, in my story and my narrative, I think it'll kind of start to help people understand as why I do what I do and how I work. So if you date back to the late 90s, I was selling media. So when I started my career, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to get into sales. I was just great at working.
You wanted to get into sales?
I enjoyed it. My uncle always told me that I had the gift of gab. That was his statement to me. So he was like, somewhere this guy, he's just going to go talk, And I have a 6-year-old now, and she's got the same thing.
Oh, good.
She's just like me, you know what I mean? So just keep going. There's always a conversation to be had. So in the 90s, I jumped into sales, and I went to work for companies like Lamar, Belo, other media powerhouses doing transit advertising, television, print, any type of traditional media.
Right. This was before the internet had been invented.
Yeah, and then Al Gore and I got together and we created the internet, and then Google took it to the next level, but yeah, so I was doing media, but it was before, it was about the time the internet was coming up. But what I found was frustration. And the frustration wasn't that I wasn't able to sell. I was able to sell. The frustration is that clients weren't staying with me. And I couldn't figure out why. It didn't make sense. Like, why am I doing great? I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm selling, where I'm placing the media, but it didn't work. So I said randomly to one of my friends one day, I need to do something different. This is frustrating that I keep losing clients. So he said, hey, why don't you come interview at this ad agency? Okay. So went to work for an ad agency as a junior project manager, but my business acumen just I knew it. I knew how to place media. What I learned at that agency was how to craft messaging better. And that's a lot of what I teach today. If you were just to simplify everything down to like, what do you do now? Is that I figured out in this time that there's two ways to do marketing. Everyone thinks marketing is just lead generation, and they don't have a lot of substance to understanding what marketing really is. But I work on principles and strategies that I've developed over many years, starting in 2003 in the agency world, understanding that when you as a business owner go to increase your business, right? And you want to place marketing and get leads in the door, oftentimes you think about the tactical marketing, which is the placement of your message.
Right.
But oftentimes you don't think about your strategic message that's more important than your tactical placement. So the first step that I teach business owners is separate tactical marketing and strategic messaging. And then start that place of building what's called the USP, your unique selling position. So my career basically came from sales, losing clients, to being on the agency side and helping clients develop the best messaging and the best platform. That's when really the web in 2003 to 2008 started taking off. And that's really when I started understanding that next level and really elevating myself and then helping clients grow as well.
I love it. Very cool. Well, you mentioned content and you talk about it in your book. And one of the things that I loved was in the book, you talk about, it is so important to have the right message. And so many companies have no idea, they're like, buy from me because I have the best stuff. But it's not only that, it's when is the right time to approach them with the message. So talk to us more about that, because I love that.
Yeah, I mean, so that's loaded, and you could take that about 500 different directions. What I've learned is marketing doesn't change. The situation changes. The company changes.
Marketing is marketing is marketing.
Yeah, but the morals, ethics, and values of the company are what makes that company unique. That uniqueness, the ethics, morals, and values is what makes it unique, and then how you explain it. So Zig Ziglar used to say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. I've taken that and put it into what we call 2024. And my statement is, it's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's what's perceived by your audience. So now your communication has to match whatever the perception should be. And I'll just use an example that I got going with a company, still a client now, almost 2 years in, and they're a drug trial science company. When they came to me, they said, hey, we're trying to generate leads. We need, people coming in and going through the trial process. So here are our numbers. Here's what we need to do. I looked at their tactical placement of their marketing message. And here was a major problem. When I looked at their AdWords, they had a 98% bounce rate.
Ooh.
They were spending over $12,000 a month in placing AdWords online, just for them, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It was terrible. They were not getting anything for a large amount of money. The number one thing that I found was the problem is that their key words that they were focusing on were migraines, solutions for migraines, organic solutions for migraines, home remedy for migraines. But when people would click the link and go to that web page, the web page didn't even talk about migraines.
Oh,
a homepage for the drug trial science company.
And so people went, I'm confused. Click the next link.
And even then, it wasn't even if they would have put migraines on the page, it was still a problem because they still spoke about drug trial science.
They wanted information about migraines.
That's
period.
What the user wants. But they wanted organic information. They wanted home remedies. So the messaging change that we made immediately was, and this took our bounce rate from a 98% to a 78% bounce rate by making one change. And it was that we still talked about drug trial science, but our headlines on the page when people landed was along the lines, and we ran a lot of different tests. So I'm only going to give one or two examples. But we said, are you frustrated with migraines? Are migraines
the things that people are saying?
Right. We're trying to get on the same page, right? I think Jay Abraham said it. He said, if you want the key to marketing, it's real simple. Think about what the user's thinking and say that in your marketing. And it is, to a level, it is that easy. Because once you've drawn someone in, your messaging can move through that.
Right.
But I'm going to take your messaging just a little bit in a potentially a little bit of a different direction for people to understand this. Your messaging matters, and how you can grade your own messaging is real simple. It's called UX, user experience. Google does a lot of things, and a lot of times Google doesn't explain what they do and why. So this goes to SEO, as we talk about it, all the different spider webs of transition that we can have in this conversation. But I say logically, I would put out there to anyone listening or watching this podcast and say, logically consider this. Do you think that a powerhouse like Google puts millions and billions of dollars into a program called Google Analytics, now called GA4, it's the newest version, and they track certain metrics? And one of the key metrics that is on the home page when you look at GA4 is how many visitors and their time session.
Right. Time spent there.
Engagement. Right. So if your messaging doesn't work, they bounce.
Right. And then Google goes, well, why should we show you in a search?
Because when I sit in conferences, I say, I ask people, what does Google care about most? And the favorite answer to everyone is money.
Right.
I say, no, it's not. Google, I do what I learned from Google. And this is how I work. I work in a focus of user experience, because what I know is what I've seen Google prove, which is if I give the best user experience, people are going to come back and work with me.
Right.
They're going to pay attention. They're going to want more information. They're going to want free information. They're going to want to read what I publish. They're going to want to work with me, right? And if I give the best user experience, that's what happens.
Right.
That's what I focus on, the same thing Google. And what Google knows is they make billions upon billions because they give a good user experience. And that's why now people go, Google it.
Yeah, it's become the noun, the adjective, the verb, all of those things.
Yeah. So we've gone down a lot of different roads, Deb. Where do you want to go next?
I love it. Well, I want to still focus on, well, you had this great chapter in your book on writing headlines. To me, content really is king. And, we don't think about the headline. And, it's which is funny because we all know that's what we read. That's what catches our attention when we're scrolling. It's what all of those various things. But then when we go to write it ourselves, we write, buy from me because I have the greatest product in the world. So talk to us more about why it is absolutely critical to have a good headline, or let me say a great headline.
So I feel like I'm going to take you again a little bit of a different direction on that. Because my first statement, Deb, is I think what you and everyone knows, I know where you're trying to get to. But let me say this. Where you're trying to get to is everyone understands why to have a good headline. They understand the engagement. Right. But I think it's more important to break it apart and understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to do.
How the heck do we do it?
Right. So when you look at writing a good headline and you're looking at writing the engagement, if you as a user look at most websites that you read, what you do is you look for the main idea and then the sub bullet points that confirm the main idea. This is also known as confirmation bias. It's a filtering of information to identify, is this what you want? You could tie that back to your reticular activator, which is what's subconsciously scanning information as we move day to day to make buying decisions. Right. Now, I always like to joke and laugh when I do conferences because people will come in for an SEO conference and I'm teaching psychology. But psychology is the human behavior of buying.
Right.
So when you simplify that even further down to the fundamental, people make buying decisions, and we have to think through why we make buying decisions. And it's based on three things. The advantages of ownership. So why do we own this product? Right. Why do we want to have
Why do we want it?
Right? The second one is objections. Objections are, I don't want it because of this. The price, the flavor, the style, the look.
All of those things.
There's a lot. And we're going to come back to objections and spend a lot of time. And then the last one is vendor selection. Who do I choose to buy this from? But no matter what you sell in the world, those three things are what apply, no matter what it is. A stick of gum, a bottle of water, because you go bottle of water, well, as a kid, we drink out of the water hose, right? We drink out of the sink. Now it's like, okay, we have to have it filtered. Okay, well, you want, Fuji, or do you want,
I drink flavored water.
Right, see? So you understand the benefits of water, but your objections now change. And my strategy that I teach is when you overcome those objections on the front end, people tend to favor you.
Right.
They put you on a different paradigm of understanding.
They went, oh, you get me.
But you show that you have the knowledge, right? I mean, I'm going to give you an example that we may talk about 5 different times during our time today. But when I bought a house for the first time in 2009 with my wife, when we bought that house, she was in law school. I was now running my own company, and I was a VP previously of a really large ad agency. So we both are educated.
Yeah, you used to be smart people.
But when we bought this house, here's what we didn't know. We didn't know that we had to go to a separate office and file for homestead.
Right.
Now,
because that was not your experience.
I spoke with a real estate agent yesterday, and she laughed over the phone when I told her that. And I told her, I said, I expect you to laugh. I think it's funny, but I also think it's more funny that you think it's so funny.
Right.
Because I've looked at your PR and marketing. I told this real estate person, I looked at your PR and marketing. I've looked at everything that you do, and you are so full of platitudes. You look and sound like everyone else online.
Right.
I'm like, so what you're telling me.
Why am I going to pick you?
You just touched on it, right? Throughout this call, you talked about this podcast. You touched on, you sound and look like everyone else. So why am I going to choose you? So you're making it now based on emotion rather than facts and confidence. So now when we go back to full circle to how do you build your headline? There are headline starters. There are ways to write headlines. I have it in the book. I talk about the different ways to write headlines and the starters and what to think about. But just in this part of the podcast, understanding the objections that your consumer's going to have. And we can talk about this if you want as well. But now I often work on avatars. Avatars are buyer personas.
Yes.
Because when you identify that, now you're building out that Susie Q likes to read, loves cats, loves flowers. Now, if we know migraines can tie to flowers and cats, or they advertise migraines and cats, you see what I mean? Now you can speak to your audience on where they're at, where they're living, what their life is, and you put your information into their life. Now you've targeted tactically for your placement, and your strategic message is written well because you understand the objections. You don't want to get into the vendor selection because now you're playing the pricing game.
Right.
Right? You're like, oh, well, let me give you 20%. Okay, 25%. None of us want to do that as business owners, right? We want to show value and keep our price point. But how you build that value and that price point comes back to objections and properly managing those objections. Now, Deb, will you indulge me on one more thing?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm going to promote the book, and here's one reason why. In my first chapter, I give 5 bullet points.
Oh, they're right here in front of me. I have it open.
5 bullet points on how to hire an ad agency. Now, what I'm doing myself, right? I tell people I eat my own dog food. I not only publish it, but I actually do it as well, right? But when we talk about how to position what I'm doing in this book is I'm educating people on how to go hire or hire the right ad agency.
Right.
Because I'm overcoming objections and I'm explaining, hey, Deb, you want to hire an ad agency. Here are the problems you may run into.
Right.
Be aware of these problems. And as you learn those problems, all of a sudden I become the authority.
Right. So because you're not going to say this is a problem if you're not the one who solves it. Right.
Exactly. So I spoke years back. I worked with, I do a lot of training with companies, and I had an ad agency hire me to train and work with their salespeople. And a huge argument broke out with a couple of the salespeople with me involved, where it was, why would we give them that objection? Why would we tell them an objection?
Right. Why are we going to point it out?
Yeah. And I just simply said, because if you don't, and I'm going against you, I will. So you have to think that your competition is going to be just as sharp, and you need to know those objections and already be ready to overcome them. Therefore, you don't worry about vendor selection. You don't worry about anything other than, I made the sale. I'm good. And you move on. In that realm, Deb, I want to take you down one more road. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Here's, I think, the biggest thing that's not in the book. I need to write a second book now.
Of course.
But here's one of the light bulb moments that I had in my career just in the last year and a half. Agencies will come sell you what they're good at, not necessarily what you need.
Right. Which That's is massive. Human nature, right? You know, I'm good at this and I don't want to talk about that over there.
So when you as a business owner say, I want to grow my business, you call up an ad agency and you go, hey, can you promote my business? Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Put together a pitch, give it to me. They come in and pitch what they're good at.
Right.
That's the difference right there in between a fractional chief marketing officer and an ad agency.
Right.
A CMO comes in and sits with the business owner and says, hey, this is what we need to do to get the results that you, the CEO, want. These are the things that we need to do. Right. This is the type of agency. They build you a plan. Then the CEO can go interview the agencies and make a decision.
Yeah, and get the one that fits what it is that you need. And of course, the tricky thing is so many companies don't know what they need.
And that's why you don't have that clear, what I call the plain English marketing plan. The simplified marketing plan that someone can look at and go, this is what I need.
Right.
So that's the first, when I work with people, that's the first thing. It's a predetermined situation that anyone that I ever work with in any of my companies, they have to do first, which is either give me the clear plan that they've already put together or work with me to create that plan.
It's GPS, right? You don't get in your car and say, take me wherever.
You're going to spend how many thousands of dollars with an ad agency and tactical placement of your marketing message with no plan, no KPI? It doesn't make sense. So that's where, again, we've gone down so many different rabbit holes here, which is great. I love it because it all does connect, right? It all comes back to one thing. So, when you look at an ad agency now, as we go back a little bit, you said you wanted to spend a little bit of time on SEO. Your headlines. So I'm going to tie a few little pieces together, right? The rabbit holes, I'm going to kind of bring them back.
Yep, we're gonna get
a little bit, right? So we talked about headlines, we talked about avatar, we talked about a lot of little pieces. Well, when you want an agency to perform for you, oftentimes an agency will say, well, it's going to take 3, 6, 12 months to get results.
Right.
Possibly. But here's what business owners don't often realize. There are KPI markers that they should be looking for and expecting that will show incremental growth.
Right. From the very start.
Right?
Yeah.
The question now becomes, what are those KPI markers? Well, Deb, I'm not going to tell you or the audience what those KPI markers are on this one. We have to wait until you do another interview with me.
Yep, of course.
Those KPI markers. Fair enough?
Yes, most definitely. Right.
No, everyone stick around. I'll tell you what they are.
Yeah. But I always love having repeat guests. So that's,
But on this part, the first thing to understand is you need to rank for a keyword to get an impression, to get a click. So we're not even going to talk about this end of the spectrum of you made a sale and you have money.
Right.
We're talking this end of the spectrum of where does it start?
Yeah. How do we even get them interested?
So when we say, how do we get them interested? It's not even getting them interested. It's you showing up. So when you hire an SEO agency, we can go down a whole nother rabbit hole of what SEO is, because there's two main ways to focus on SEO. But before we even touch that, we're going to talk about you have to rank. If you're not ranking at least in the top 100 for keywords,
right,
then you can't get that impression.
Yeah, if you cannot be found, then it's kind of the say it's a brick and mortar store. If you have no signage so people know here is where we are, then it's going to be very difficult to do business. Not impossible, but difficult.
Yeah. So when we look at the steps, right? So we have to show up. Well, now we could tie quickly that simply back over to the headlines. Right. Are headlines using the right words? Because now you're talking about on-page SEO, which would be H tags, meta tags, and content, and what's called density of the website. If we simplified for some of the listeners that may be first steps into SEO and what it is, understand this. So if this is way too elementary for some people, I apologize. But for those people,
it's a good reminder
that have never learned about SEO, here's where it starts. You want to rank for a keyword. Make sure that word is used repetitively in the right terminology in the right way on your homepage of a website.
Right.
Now, that may sound insane, but it's more insane when I do audits of websites that people have built, and their number one keyword that they use the most is learn more. Yeah. You're telling me that you sell eyeglasses and your first word is learn more?
Right. No.
But yet it's missed so much.
Right. Well, or, and I love the ones then that go to the other extreme. Do you need glasses? We've got glasses here. Really come to us for glasses. No, it still needs to read well, or people are going to go, this is just weird.
So Deb, that's a great segue into another thing that people don't understand. As a consumer, Deb, just you and I sitting here talking, as a consumer, if we need to hire a plumber because our kitchen sink broke, how much education do we need legitimately? How much knowledge, education, and bandwidth and mental capacity do we need to make a buying decision on a plumber?
Not a ton. Yeah.
And according to Google, it's a third grade level. The third grade reading level.
Right.
Now, Deb, if you and your husband decide that you want to do a self-directed IRA, how much knowledge and bandwidth do you need to have?
A lot more.
A lot more than a third grade. It's a PhD level according to Google statistics. So now you have to consider your content. When you talk about eyeglasses, buy these eyeglasses, this. Well, you're using the same concepts and principles of writing headlines, focusing on your avatar, your buyer persona, all these other details, right? Advantages of ownership, objections, vendor selection. But the way you lay that content out, how many pages you need of a website, that's totally different.
Right.
So the same principles apply, but the tactics of it and the strategic message does change. And that's kind of the principle of understanding. Google is reading your content and making a decision. So everyone loves to talk about AI nowadays like it's something brand new. And
no, it has existed for years, folks.
Everyone ever gone to the Word document and you type something in, it gives you auto,
and it gives it makes you suggest that's AI.
It is, right? Google auto populate when we start typing something in. That's AI. It's predicted of basic human behavior. So it's fun to talk about. It's fun that there's new tools. It's fun that it's made life a little easier with some of this new explosion of AI, but it's always been there. I think people get too enamored with this concept of what AI is. And it's great. Knowing the right tools and not overspending, I believe, because I teach AI conferences, but knowing the right tools and not overspending are the number one principles that I tell people.
And yeah, that, that the AI rabbit hole is so much fun. I in fact, I had to draft some marketing things for me earlier today, but it can help you generate the SEO, the keywords. I mean, all of those things, and I was thinking back to when, Al Gore first invented all of this. And we used to cheat on SEO, right? You'd put in your competitors' names, especially your big competitors, because you're assuming somebody's searching for them. You want to come up. And of course, Google got really smart and went, no. In fact, they ding you. That's bad. No, that's cheating. Or the people who would put the keywords in, like maybe they had a white background, they would use white text to say things, and because the bots would see the text. I mean, we could not see it, and so again, and no, Google's figured all those things out. It's smarter that the people who work there are really pretty smart cookies. But it is about having the right content wherever it is that you're doing, internet or whatever, and it's funny as we record this, Super Bowl was last weekend. So, commercials, right? And, and it was, I'm always fascinated with the Super Bowl commercials because how many of them do we watch and then go, I have absolutely no idea what they were selling? Now you see Clydesdales, you go Budweiser. I mean, we know that Budweiser's meaning Clydesdale, right? They don't even have to say Budweiser. We go Clydesdales, but yeah, I mean, so many of the ads this year, as soon as it was done, I thought, I have no idea what that was for. Yeah. So, that's the bright, shiny object thing. We're going after eyeballs. We're going after people to say, hey, wasn't this cute? And this is nothing new again. I mean, one of my favorite examples is the one, and I don't even know now how old it is, the herding cats Super Bowl commercial, where, and it was for EDS. Made absolutely no sense that those two were but we obviously still remember herding cats. But that, I think, is one of the issues that we have with our headlines and our content. We're writing them to catch somebody's attention, and then forgetting that, hello, we have something that we want to talk to you about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could transition that a little bit to engagement of your content.
Right.
But now we can move into a little bit of the social side, right? So when we talk SEO, it can be and should be primarily around your website. But you have to think about excuse me. You have to think about SEO, and we have to think about the tactical placement to drive people to your site.
Right.
So again, it's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's what's perceived by your audience. Your website needs to be the center hub, the center mass of your entire unique selling position.
Right.
And it needs to have the spokes that allow great user engagement for a user to click through and go somewhere.
Right.
So you go plumber. How do you make your website not have a high bounce rate and have better engagement? Right? That's one of the hardest things to do as plumbers and having a low engagement rate. Real simple for you plumbers that may be listening. Put in in your hero image or just below it in the top 1/3 of your page, put in the most common problems and quick fix solutions. Have people click and drive them to a page that says, here are the most common problems and here's fast solutions for it. Now, people want a fast solution because if their kitchen sink broke, and
I got company coming and I have water everywhere.
Right? You're like, I don't want my house to get ruined, and you're not going to come out at 1 a.m. and I'm ready to go back to bed. It's like, you know what I mean? Give them the quick fix.
Right.
That's a better engagement. Now let's go to social. Now, if you take that same principle into social, the concept that a lot of people don't follow in social is you have 3 seconds there's 4 principles in really pulling someone in with good headlines and content. Okay, so let's start there. 4 principles. Interrupt. We have to break through the monotony, break through the garbage of
their
the word,
attention.
Interrupt them. The second one is harder, but it's the engagement. The engagement where they go, oh, okay, I'm going to lean a little bit more, right? Third one is education. When you educate somebody, what you're doing is you're pulling them in on education, and now you're building the overcome objections. Now you're telling them why you're the professional, why you are the top person. And the last one is your call to action. It's that hook.
And that gets forgotten so many times.
Yep. So those are your 4 steps. So now if you translate that, you can translate that to a website. So let me do website real quick, and then let me move to the another direction. Okay.
Right.
So the website, your interrupt, engage, and educate works like this. Your main headline is your interrupt. Your subheadlines are the engage, and then the educator, the smaller paragraphs. But you build your SEO keywords into each of those. Quickly moving that to transition of social. You have 3 seconds to interrupt them. You have 3 more seconds to engage them. And then you have approximately 20 to 30 seconds to educate them.
Right. Because we all have the attention span of a gnat.
And that's where it comes in is if you oftentimes find yourself wanting to think through what I'm saying logically and building confirmation bias of, is Josh Ramsey really accurate with this or not? In everyone's local brain, next time you look at videos on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, see how much you scroll down and figure out and think about when you stopped.
Right.
When did you start to become engaged? What was it? It was your reticular activator of a certain person, a memory. You know what I mean? Like, why does Facebook do what they do? There's a psychology rationale behind it, why they engage the way they do.
Right. You know, and it's about, as we said, getting their attention and then keeping it and sucking them in, because we can all go somewhere else. The long gone are the days when you have a unique product, right? There's, I cannot think of anything in the world that is a totally unique product. Somebody's the only one that offers it. No, I mean, you've got one.
So I'm going to promote a guy.
Okay.
Someone wants to know where this is or how to get it, you can contact me and I'll put you in touch. But everyone knows what drywall is, right?
Right.
Behind me, it's behind you. It's around all of us that are in a house. One of the hardest things to do with drywall when you're doing it is doing the corners.
Right.
The 90-degree corners.
Making them nice and pretty.
Because it takes a lot of time to put the paper and then tape it and then sand it and repaint it, right? Well, this guy came out with a product.
He's got a corner.
See that?
Very cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Well, he started out this product and he had no idea how to market it because he had a great product. So sometimes you have a great product. Sometimes you have a product that's plumbing that anyone that knows plumbing knows how to do.
Right.
Or you have something unique. But again, it's now how you position this.
Right.
How do you sell it? How do you explain it? And this gentleman, being an engineer, extremely smart, came up with this product, launched it, patented it, everything, right? But he had no idea how to sell it. He had no idea how to position it.
How do you and who? I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, are you talking to the homeowner? Are you talking to the construction people? That comes back to the avatar.
It does come back to the avatar, and then each avatar or buyer persona would be different. Now we talk about the offers and the opportunity, the lowest hanging fruit.
Right.
So now you become trying to make different decisions. So Deb, I didn't want to crash or rain on your parade of.
I love it.
Every now and then something is unique. But let me go to nothing is unique for a minute more, because Deb, here's something that I love to say to people. Remember the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink?
Yep.
Deb, I am the guy that people do not like. Here's why I say that. Because I believe you can lead a horse to water and you can make it drink.
Right.
have to have the right strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
Run that horse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it drink for 2 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
Feed that horse to water.
Right. The horse will drink. Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and the funny thing is that sounds simple, and it is simple. And I think maybe that's where we get caught up, is we do try and make it more difficult. It's, and a big part of that, and I talk about this a lot on the program, is, when we, first of all, figuring out who you're selling to. I mean, that is one of the biggest things, because, and I'm sure you have this happen all the time, you ask people, who's your target market? And they smile and they go, everybody. No. And so they, and of course you think, well, if I limit who I'm marketing to, I'm limiting my sales. That's fine. Those other people weren't going to buy anyway. So it's okay to not be talking to them. But it's, and then when you figure out, and this ties in with everything we've been talking about. So you've got it down to Susie Q, as you said, and that she likes this, and this. If you talk about something totally different, Susie Q goes, that's not for me. And off she goes. But if you talk about how, her cat is the most important thing in the world to her, and how can she not have migraines so she can enjoy more time with her cat, you captured her attention. And yeah, and I mean, it is that simple, but we're like, okay, well, what causes migraines, and how can we forget the cat even exists, or we talk about the dog and she's like, and so, yeah, it's kind of the old KISS principle, right? Keep it simple. And and that's the thing.
The right strategic message and the right tactically placed location.
Right.
And your strategic message can be modified and twisted and changed and adapted to fit in that tactical placement. But it's another principle that I've learned a long time ago is, out of 100% of people that are going to buy from you, don't focus on the bottom 20 and don't focus on the top 20.
Right.
Top 20 are always going to buy from you.
Right. They've got client loyalty or whatever that they're going to go
focus on that middle 60. And your job in marketing is to persuade and influence that middle 60% to lean your direction.
Right.
And if you achieve that, that's your focus. So yes, it is a KISS principle, but it's knowing where you're going to set your KPI markers. And I think, I know we're starting to get towards the end of this conversation, and it's been a lot of fun, but I would say another key thing for people to focus on, I said it a little bit before, but I want to say very, very, very strongly right now. And that is, you must build KPIs in marketing to hold everyone accountable. And a KPI can be a lot of different things. A KPI is a key point indicator. But as we look at a key point indicator, it's things like, are we getting the right keywords and the right density on our website pages? Right. KPI is, we made a change to the website? Did it improve or did it decline? I tell people that work in my ad agency all the time, I want to see errors on the website. What? Why do you want to see an error on a website? Your job is to not have an error. Not correct. Your job is to make the errors, because what happens is it shows Google that you're working on it.
Right. And Google likes fresh content.
That's what they're looking for. So it also tells a client, if they see errors come up and then go away, it's what we call build it, break it, fix it.
Right.
Build the website, you'll look for the breaks, the cracks, the issues, you fix it, and then you do it again. Right? And that's when you know it's working well. So those are the types of KPIs. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm going to kick this back over to you, but unfortunately, I had a client sign up with me about 8 months ago, and the unfortunate part of it was they had worked for 6 months with an ad agency and continued to decline on all.
So not only did they not stay the same, they declined. Yikes.
And they were sold on the idea that most people are sold on, that please, if everyone's listening to this, hear me loud and clear. There are KPIs and measurables. You do not need to wait 30 days, 60 days, or 6 months to see measurables and see a turn. You may not get immediate phone calls, but there are KPI markers that you can identify depending on your business and what you're doing, even impressions. I mean, it's insane to me that I sat down with a company that's spending on average $250,000 a month. They called me and said, hey, can you do an audit for us? I said, absolutely. Sat down and did an audit. Long story short, because there was so much information, one thing that blew my mind is they have a marketing director that's been there for about 1.5 years. And I looked at the marketing director as nicely as I could, and I said to the marketing director, if I gave you $20,000 right now, which to them, $20,000 is a very small drop in the bucket. I give you $20,000 right now. Where would you spend it to see a maximum return? His response took him 5 to 10 seconds to respond. And when he did respond, all he spoke about was, I'm going to go test this, this, and this. I said, you've already been testing things for over 1.5 years. Do you not have something that specifically you know has worked from all the testing you've done? And when a marketing director can't turn around and give me that like that, business owner, if that's your marketing director, you need to know, not necessarily that you replace that person, but you need to know the type of person you have. I don't like replacing people. I don't like changes. I like fixing what we have to make it more effective, because if a business owner can work with me and afford even some of my lower rates and my lower pricing, they're affording something. They can pay something. That means they've done something right. Don't change it. Build on it.
Yeah. Well, and it comes back to a lot of times they don't know where they're going. They're doing the whole GPS thing without telling it where they're going. Or they have the marketing plan that is dusty and sits on the back counter that somebody developed for them somewhere along the line, but they don't know, they do not know where they're going. And more importantly, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? And how can you measure it? I mean, did you get where you wanted to go, but you took so many detours that, and all of those things. And that's not hard to do. Now it does entail working with sales, and the other parts of the company. And fortunately, I think we are finally getting away from the silos in the companies where, sales never talks to marketing, who never talks to R&D, who, all of those various things. But, it's just, they just don't understand, what they're doing with all of this. And it's, it is, you have to have those goals, and you talk about this in the book, and I talk about this a lot. They have to be measurable goals, folks. It's not just, we need to increase sales. We need to get more people clicking on our website. Okay, what is more? And now for some people, more is 10. For somebody else, it might be 10,000. But that comes back to the avatar. Are they the right 10,000? If you've done something where people are just clicking to, for whatever reason, but they're not going to get those next steps. So they're not going to engage. They're not going to, read what you've got for educate. And certainly they're not going to buy. Then again, you wasted that money. So if you had the right 10, maybe that was what you needed to do.
And there's a logic behind where you're testing. So when you're doing something and you're talking about, did you get the right 10? Okay. Take a consideration of you do a live broadcast in front of a jewelry store and you get more traffic, but your sales don't necessarily increase for the amount of spend that you have. You might get the eyeballs, but you have to think about, are we getting the right audience? Are we getting the right people? Did that really work for us or not? And then setting some KPIs within that of, okay, how many new contacts did we get? How many new sales, new customers did we get? And how much information did we get? So maybe your KPI then is, we got 30,000 new contacts because we did a live remote broadcast on radio at one of our brick and mortar stores. You see what I mean? Like that can be a KPI.
Right.
But projecting that KPI before you do it, not afterwards. Because afterwards, now it's hindsight. And you say, oh, well, we should have done that. It's coming up with the plan first, then executing the plan.
Yeah.
And that goes back to one of the first things we spoke about.
Right. And let's be honest, we don't want to be wasting time and money. That's ultimately what this comes down to. And so we're not just throwing the darts at the dartboard hoping we hit something, because let's be honest, every once in a while you do hit the target. But then the bad part is you go, what do we do? How do we do that? I don't know. But yeah, it's all about this. And it's funny, the other thing I was thinking of, here we go, squirrel, right? Or the rabbit hole. And I am one of those. I'm like, the keywords and the placement are not just on your website. It's, if you're, the plumber, maybe his billboard is saying, is your sink backed up? Because, and now, but, if you're driving, that might not be the thing. You're not really thinking about it. But one of my favorite billboards around here when I'm driving around is for a bail bondsman. Now, I don't need this person, but when you look around, I can see the jail, and I am pretty sure that the windows where people are making their little first phone calls can see that billboard. So the placement is perfect. The other thing is, I think it says something along the lines of, do you need bail? I mean, not sorry that these things have happened to you. No, do you need bail? Because that person sitting there on the phone goes, "Yepers." So yeah, think about that. What is that? What are the keywords, and where do you need to see them?
Well, I would say on that same thing, I held up this coin for a reason. So when we talk about unique selling positions, sometimes just creating a unique selling position is important.
Right.
But then using it the right way.
Right.
So I'm going to give you a quick example here, as I know we're going to start wrapping this call up. But this was a gentleman that came to me in California, and he's an architect. This is his business card. So this is what he would hand out to people.
I love it. So it's like a challenge coin type of thing.
It is. It's a solid, thick coin. Okay. It's got beautiful marks on it, good information, his logo's on it. I mean, it's really solid. I met with him, spoke with him a little bit, and I said, this is really cool. And he was super proud of it. And I said, you should be. I like it. It is unique, right? I said, but let's do something. And we sat down, and long story short, after sitting there for about 5 to 10 minutes, I went online and did a keyword search for him, not his name, but anything about his industry and related to a coin. And nothing showed up. And I even had other people sitting around us chime in. Well, type this word in, type that word in. Nothing. Right. So then when I did his name and I looked at what little bit of profile he had online, nothing was there. If people don't
So he was cute, but
if people don't pick up on the point of that, let me make it explicitly clear. You have a great idea of using this coin, but no one can find you online. Your unique selling position was the coin to keep that engagement where someone goes, I want to work with that architect that was a coin. Where is, how do I find them? What do? You go to Google, architect that has a coin, architect, whatever. You don't have to name your company, coin architect, but you got to do something. I always joke with people when I do my conferences. My dad is Dave Ramsey. My name is Joshua Ramsey. My dad is Dave Ramsey. Most people know who Dave Ramsey is, right? A lot of people start to marinate on that. They're like, wait, is he the Dave Ramsey? And I go, yeah, he's the Dave Ramsey. He is the original. And they're like, really? The guy that does all the financial? Oh, well, he's good at finances, but he's not that guy that wrote the book.
No, he's not that guy.
But he's older than that guy, so he's the original. Right. But now all of a sudden, if I start to draw people in on that, if you Google Josh Ramsey or Ramsey Marketing, you're going to see my face. You're going to see who I am. You're going to be able to find me. You type in Fractional CMO, and a lot of the major cities that I focus, like Dallas, I own page 1 of Google. I consider owning page 1 of Google. I consider that having 3 or more spots. I think I have 5 of the top.
And this is not paid, folks.
Not paid. Not paid. That's organic SEO. You type in Austin, Houston, Tampa, Miami, Dallas, Denver, Boise. those are just off the top of my head, 7 that I'm in the top 5, if not position 1 for fractional CMO and then that city name. So there's a whole strategy behind SEO that I could literally break down for people and say, here are the specific ways to do it, you know, and do Q&As, which, by the way, Deb, I don't know if we want to transition to this. That's one of the things that I do for free for people.
Right. That actually is a good point to transition to, because we've only got 5 minutes left. Yeah. So tell us, you know, how do people find you and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah. So my website is JRcmo, stands for Josh Ramsey, Chief Marketing Officer. And the main service that I provide is to help business owners grasp a better idea of how to grow their business and create a plan. And I do that for absolutely $0. The reason is because I believe that if I give people a good user experience, they're going to come back and work with me. They're going to understand the value of what I bring, and my marketing piece, my marketing dollars are invested of my time working with business owners to help give them a vision and a principle. Now, I don't write out a marketing plan for them.
That does cost money.
But verbally, I give them the information that they need so they can start writing that plan. They can then go to their marketing director and build out more of that plan. They can go to their best friend that does marketing and build out more of that plan. But I give them that different perspective because I've found in my career that the more free information that I give and the more I help people, pays itself back. So that's my approach. So I do that for free. On my website, you can Google JRcmo or Fractional CMO Dallas. Find me, my profile, everything on me. And then on the page, there's a free consultation. We call it.
I see the button.
And on that little button, you click that button and it asks you to fill out a business evaluation. Typically takes someone about 10 minutes or less.
So you've got information before you start working with them. And it's making them think about it.
I do my research and then we sit down and we spend about 30 to 45 minutes walking through where they're at, where they want to get to, and what are those steps to get them there.
Right. I love it. I love it. And again, it's JRcmo.com. Easy peasy, right? Because there's branding stuff that we know too. And, you know, back to what we were saying, folks, this is not rocket science. We don't need to make it rocket science. You know, put your head into the head of who you're trying to reach. And what is it, you know, how are you going to reach them? I keep coming back to the Super Bowl commercials. There were so many, I thought, I don't think they even know who their target audience is. They were just trying to be so cute so that people would go, oh, this is the best ad. And I was like, I don't know, you know, what it was. And yeah, it was like, okay. And I mean, it was really funny because there were multiple ones where I would go, they spent $7 million to do that. Why? You know, and you know, just think what they could have done with that $7 million that actually would bring them customers, or at least start that process. You know, as opposed to, hey, we had an award-winning Super Bowl commercial. So, but yeah, you know, oh my gosh, you know, Joshua, this has been so much fun. And we do have to have you on again because, you know, I think it's, you know, you've got such great information and you don't have to write another book before we have you on. But, you know, it really has been something that is so beneficial to folks, you know, and, you know, before we have you on again, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
You know, I think it just kind of recaps lately in my mind to have a plan. I know we spoke about it. I don't want to necessarily beat the proverbial horse, but it still blows me away that I'm talking with business owners and they're going out. And I think my biggest message right now is have a plan. Don't just go to an ad agency and expect them to give you the plan. Have your plan first. Build the plan around what you need and want, and then strategically figure it out. And one last little example is when you go to an SEO agency, realize that there's 2 core ways to do SEO. On page, which is in your website, the content that's there, and off page, which is link building. But consider, do you need link building? Sure, you could argue yes, but do you need on page? You need that first, right? You need to know that your foundation of your marketing, who you are, your unique selling position, what makes you you, what makes you proud, right? What's your blood, sweat, and tears? And that needs to be poured out strategically and well explained on your website. That's called on-page SEO. So be careful when you create these plans and you hire people, you're spending money that could be not well invested. Because if you drive people to your website, and Deb, you just said it, I'm just saying it in a different way. You spend $7 million and you drive people to your website, but 98% of them bounce. What good did that 7 million do? Right?
Right.
And that just kind of, to me, sums up and recaps a lot of what you and I spoke about. So I love being here, Deb. I think it was great.
It's great fun. Great fun. I love it. I love it. And we will do it again. Because I think a lot of this are things, we say that they're basic, but so many companies, or I shouldn't say companies, so many business owners, marketing folks, whoever they are, don't know anything about it. And they think it doesn't pertain to me. And, that's the thing. They're like, we're the small plumber. What does this matter? That's where it really matters. You've got to get the attention away and make sure that you're the small plumber that pops up when somebody says, oh my God, I live in X place and my sink is backed up. Well, Joshua, this has been fantastic. We will have you on again. But until then, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having such a fun conversation about marketing with Joshua Ramsey. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.